Hey everybody, welcome back to the Montreal tournament. This is round 10, 14, and I forgot to do the thing again. And again, it still says 13 because I'm just like refusing to change it to game 10 of 13. But this is round 10, game 9 for me in this tournament. And I'm playing my clubmate and mentor, Jason Lee, who opens with Lei. I respond with Fox. I'm 5-3 at this point, and definitely need to win pretty much the rest of my games if I want a chance at winning the tournament. Um, and I definitely need to win 4 out of 5 if I want to get second, I think. Um, so that being said, Fox comes down, Boy comes down, and this is a really weird spot where I tried to look for a play for like a long time and I couldn't really find anything good that I liked. And then I finally saw Pewitt. It took me a really long time to find plays in this game. Not entirely sure why. I was considering like OW, which looks really bad. Um, but actually, PEEWIT, PEWIT, and Weep are all options here. Weep at 6K, which is a very aggressive move, setting up a Y hook, an S hook for Weep's Weepy, and also setting up a twit hook for the T. Um, so yeah, it's not a move you really want to make, but it's apparently the best move. I think Pewitt is okay, but I think Weep is probably necessary here to not fall too far behind, since Jason is going to be the one scoring pretty well here, and I'm not going to necessarily have a good response with my 1 point tiles. So Jason plays Caddy, and yeah, I have 1 point tiles, and I can't bingo. I play Colo. I gave Jason some rack knowledge here because I was just struggling to find plays, and I laid down to play alone at M1, which scores well, but it's just not good. The leave is much worse, and it gives back more points as well to Jason. But unfortunately, this move gives Jason a huge play of orifices, which he actually also struggles to find, but he ends up making the find. He's like, oh, and then laid this down. And I was like, oh shit, this is not good. I'm down 100 points. So this sort of shows what the problem with Pewitt is. It really allows Jason to give me a second. Yeah, sorry about that. It really allows Jason to balance his rack as best as he can and leave me uh, pretty much having to make some board opening play if I want to keep scoring, which is what happened. And Orifices comes down, but I get narrate at least, and I'm still in the game. Jason plays Juddy, and I have this very bizarre rack here with the Q, the V, but the blank as well. There aren't any good Q spots. I can drop the Q for 11, but I'm never hitting a bingo after that. And you have these huge hooks for narrate, narrates, narrated. Um, they're just sitting there. And so I took a long think here again and decided to make a bizarre looking play that seems to be counterproductive, but is probably the right call, and that is Foamer. Um, and this move is sort of at cross purposes with what I'm trying to do because it blocks the board, and I'm still down by 30 points after my play, and I get rid of my blank, and I'm keeping a Q and an H. The Q is going to be really hard to unload. However, if I draw a U, I will have Qua for 32. That is a decent likelihood of happening. If I draw U here, there are 3 U's left, so it could happen, and this spot is not super likely to go away. Of course, Jason would want to block this E pretty much since he's ahead, and that's like the only place to bingo on the board now. But he can't really do that unless he sacrifices points. So it's possible he'll play through this E and sacrifice points. It's possible he won't and just keep trying to score. He might play on the M column, but most likely he'd be playing at M3 rather than M1. So yeah, drawing the U, it's pretty likely I'm going to get the play of quad down. If I draw an I might have QI. There are other outs for me as well, and this just scored really well, didn't give anything back to Jason, and made the game pretty complicated. So I went with it. Jason plays legit, and here I had this really weird rack that I didn't really know what to do with. So I'm gonna let you guys try to find a couple plays here while I blow my nose. Hey, I've never done this in a YouTube video before, but I'll be right back. Okay, so if you found a play here, good for you. There aren't very many plays here. Um, you could do something like NOH under Vomer, just the for 22. You could play Hajj for 26. You could play Bohia and try to open the board this way, which is kind of dangerous because Jason's ahead 53, and if he has an A to overlap Bohia, he's going to be scoring very nicely and increasing his lead by a lot. So yeah, this is a really tough position for me, and I decided to phony on purpose, and I honestly should regret this, but I kind of didn't regret it at the time, and I still kind of don't regret it. Um, this is the sort of position where playing a phony is not as dangerous as in other positions because the board is so closed that it's very hard for Jason to take full advantage of a phony by maybe scoring a lot of points, getting with out of reach, or maybe he's gonna be able to bingo, but not on this board. So yeah, more likely than not, this phony doesn't cost me all that much if it gets challenged off. But it also depends on what the phony is, and of course, it's always a mistake to phony in hindsight, unless you get away with it. And this was just not accepted. Jason ended up challenging after a long think. This is just a completely made up word that I thought that Jason might let go. It could be some weird 6 letter word that doesn't take an S. Because obviously everybody knows that Ethans is not a word. Um, and I thought this was safe because playing phonies, you have to be pretty thoughtful about them, like intentional phonies. This word Ethan would never have really come up in a game because it's not a hook to anything. So Athen is not a word, Etha is not a word. Um, so as a result of that, it's possible that if you're studying the word heathen, you might see that heathen would be a hook, the H hook onto Ethan, and that would be the only way that you would like find out that Ethan is a word normally. And maybe I should have thought about that. I don't think I did think about that. But Jason ended up challenging, so good for him. I totally made this up. I actually thought it was Collins, um, but it's not. And yeah, maybe I should just play Hajj and keep the game going and keep the scoring pressure going. But again, I have this Q, and he's blocked both the Q spots for it. And yeah, things were going really poorly. I thought this was definitely a gambit worth making. But he plays Fem. He hesitated to play this because he thought he saw he was giving me them, just an easy way to score 28 points. But he actually didn't realize he was giving me even more than that. He gave me Anthem, so lucky for me, I was able to bounce back. And yeah, then he plays Curari, and I still have this Q. I haven't drawn a U. He's just played another U, so it's even less likely that I'm drawing this U for Qua. Um, So coming back without a bingo is starting to appear less and less possible. Um, so I end up playing an exchange here. I could play Bohia, but again, if he has an A, it's just really bad. He's probably just going to be winning the game, just like plainly. Just if he has a play above Bohia, he's probably just winning the game, unless I get extremely likely and bingo twice or something. Um, so I'm trying to hit the A, I'm trying to hit the E. Like it's not really happening for me. He's probably gonna try to block the E at this point. So I decided to try and keep the I to potentially make some 8 letter word ending in A or something. Just trying to balance my rack. But yeah, he's probably gonna try to block this E, and he does. He plays gaze for 34, which to me, I wasn't sure if that meant that he had another S or not. He could definitely make this play without another S. Does score 10 more points. Actually scores 12 more points than just gay. And S's have no immediate value on this board. However, they do have future value because I draw into this rack and I play low. But if I had played something else like maybe actually there's actually not there's not a single word, a 3 letter word starting in LO that only takes an S hook. Huh. So yeah, the S is actually really minimally valuable because I can make a play here, and this is where I need to like try and open the board. However, um, you don't need to have an S to block. Like you just need to have the letter that hooks. So if I play like lob, you could have an E. If I play log, you could have an E as well. If I play lore, you can have an N or an E. T, you could have a lot. You could have low T, low ta, bunch of possibilities. So interesting stuff. Jason correctly assessing that the S doesn't have much value. He said he actually drew this second one. He didn't have it, but he drew it and plays retards. And yeah, I'm down 136, and the game is pretty much over. I look very hard for bingos that don't score only in the 60s, but I couldn't find it, and obtained is in fact the best bingo here for 60. Um, and something very funny happens in this position. So obviously I'm just losing the game pretty much. There's no hope for me. The only thing I could hope to do is bingo again and like stick Jason with the Q somehow, or force him into an end game where the Q is going to lose him the game, because it just makes it too difficult for him to make a high enough scoring sequence. But Jason starts laying down ELODEA, and then he drops the Q on this triple, and he's like, "Oh, whoops," and puts the S down. And flashbacks to when I played Colo, and I flashed my A, my N, and my E to Jason after putting down alone on the board before taking it back. But this information is incredibly vital. This wasn't an overdraw. This wasn't a missed turn. This wasn't a bad play, but just the fact that I knew that Jason had the Q was a humongous error on his part, because it makes my plan to try and win extremely and abundantly clear. Um, there could be some world where instead of trying to hope that Jason has the Q, um, I hope to draw the Q with some really, really big play with it. But after the play of Elodia's, there's no way that I'm drawing the Q. And so it's just very clear what I have to do, and that is try and stick Jason with the Q. So I see there's one Q spot here. You can play QI. There's still Qua, of course. Um, but that's about it for the Q. So as a result of that, if you have the U, if he has the U, he's winning pretty much. If he has a play with the Q. he's gonna have Qua. But if not, I can stick him with the Q and make it kind of difficult on him. But I am down by 100 points, so even if he does have the Q and I stick him with it, it seems like unlikely that I'm gonna beat him. And the play I saw seemed very obvious. It was just Baith. But there's a better play in this position than Baith. Uh, and it's pretty incredible. And it was a humongous mistake for me to have missed it. And I could have won the game, technically speaking, if I had found it. Although with Jason's specific rack, he still would have won the game. It was a disconnected 9-letter word of unhireable. And somehow, somewhere, it's possible that this mistake of Jason flashing his Q to me, sounds really weird to say that, this mistake might have actually benefited him spread wise in terms of like winning the game by more points than he would have, because I was just so incredibly focused on the fact that he had seen my Q that I was so far, or that I had seen his Q that I was so far away from finding unhireable. Now I feel like I would have seen this play in certain contexts, and unfortunately this was not one of them. So I emptied the bag with Baith, and Jason does have the Q, and he should just play Qua, I think. But instead he plays Zig, threatening Qua next turn. And I play later, which is actually slightly worse than Duenna, which is a really weird move, but makes sense because you go out in 2. Jason plays Qua here for 10 fewer. Very complicated endgame. I play Nene. He took some time in this endgame and was like, wait, how am I gonna get rid of all my vowels? Like I can play 1, I can play boo. Where does my ego? But yeah, he could just play oboe, and play his E off next turn with Yer or Laos. Instead he plays boo, which is a 4-point mistake. Very complicated endgame, and I'm like, okay, I figured it out. This is my plan all along, unobtained. And he challenges, and it's not a word. Really? Why isn't unobtained a word? It's a word in Collins. Anyways, that was unfortunate, but yeah, it cost me 10 points. He still misses Laos, and I play Nug, and the game is over. I lose by 89, so not a terrible loss. It could have been a lot worse, considering that I played Ethan and lost my turn. And yeah, some other things happened along the way. Unhireable was really crazy. I wish I had seen that. That would have been really nice. But yeah, tough game, and Jason takes the W. So that was round 10. Game 10 of 13, round 10 of 14. I know I'm saying something different than what's written on my screen. I'm sorry, I'm lazy. And I'll see you guys for round 11. Or is it game 11? No, it's game 10. Okay, complicated. Anyways, all right, bye.